There are now 9 main Witcher books. Geralt's physical ability varies throughout these books, and this is most notable in the most recent book, where he's his youngest and least experienced. But how strong is, or was Geralt at his absolute peak in the books? I've covered the topic of Geralt's strength before, but this has mainly been about the games. Of course, there's a stark difference between the games version of Geralt and the books version of Geralt. Most notably, in the most recent installation of the Witcher games, The Witcher 3, Geralt is portrayed as more of a superhero. He's actually just a professional monster slayer and part-time philosopher who's making his way through the world, killing monsters until one comes along and kills him. Geralt is somewhat of a tragic protagonist in the books, and it's kind of hard to imagine that if your only exposure to Geralt has been the Witcher games. Before we get into the topic of the video today, I'd like to very humbly ask you guys to subscribe and like the video if you do end up liking the video. This greatly supports the channel, and of course it helps me too. We also have a community Discord which you can join with the link in the description. The community there is pretty nice, and it would be nice to see some new faces. Without further ado, let's get into the topic of today's video. Geralt, albeit weaker in the books than he is in the games, is no small fry whatsoever. Just physically speaking, witches are far more powerful than most, even including well-trained swordsmen, knights, and soldiers. This is of course downscaled in the books, but the phenomenon is still consistent and quite apparent. The only swordsman that's ever spoken to or implicated to have a chance against Geralt would be Leo Bonnar. Made a video on that recently, and if you're interested in seeing my take on it, you can go and watch it. Geralt shows immense physical strength in The Last Wish, harming Princess Ada with a punch. This is of course in her Striga form, as I don't think anyone would find it impressive if Geralt walked up to Princess Ada in her human form and rocked her with a punch to the temple. Some of, if not the majority of the damage is inflicted by the silver-studded knuckles that Geralt has on his glove. However, I do believe that the majority of this came from afterwards, when she recoiled and ran away. He most definitely inflicted physical harm with the punch, which is absolutely insane if you have any idea what a Striga actually is. Wrestling with a Striga is absolutely no small feat. Geralt is more than capable of keeping up with Vilgefortz in their fight, far and away the strongest sorcerer in the continent. That is until Vilgefortz started taking it a little more seriously and revealing more and more of his actual power. But this is Vilgefortz we're talking about, and it's not really an anti-feat that Geralt lost to him in their initial fight. This isn't anything near what he displays in the games, such as in The Witcher 2, when he lifts a portion of a dragon's head via a hook that he is holding while it's mid-flight. This requires an immense amount of strength, as you can probably imagine. Geralt definitely isn't the heaviest of hitters when it comes to strength in the books, but he is most definitely a force to be reckoned with. Moving on, with speed even faster than Geralt, let's talk about Geralt's speed. Geralt most definitely fares better in speed than he does in strength when it comes to the books. Even in comparison to soldiers or trained swordsmen, he's far and away faster than them. Geralt is capable of dodging arrows at a short distance, and of course if he can dodge them, he can most definitely intercept them. Geralt has even more impressive showings of speed than this, however. In The Last Wish, Geralt disposes of Renfri's gang with ease in no time whatsoever. He beats Renfri with relative ease too, but she does hurt him a little bit, though it seems he's not going all out. Finally, the last physical feat I'll be showcasing for Geralt in terms of his speed is the fact that he reacted to and blocked Yennefer's lightning attack in The Last Wish. He blocked it using Heliotrope, although it did in fact send him flying and crashing into the wall. Nonetheless, he was able to react to it and cast a sign before it hit him. In terms of statements for Geralt's feats throughout the books, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. Sapkowski consistently uses statements such as, "He's too fast," or "I didn't even see him move," when characters are fighting Geralt. The sheer consistency at which these statements are used to categorize Geralt's speed makes it impossible for it to simply be flowery writing, as I hear a lot of people arguing. Take that as you will, Geralt moves way too fast to even perceive for some people who are maybe not on the stronger side. But all in all, Geralt is incredibly fast, and I'd definitely be careful not to blink if I was faced with him. Moving on very swiftly to Geralt's abilities in the books, and I think this is where the games and the books have the biggest differentiation. The reason I say that there's a very large differentiation between games and books Geralt when it comes to abilities is the sheer usage of signs in the games in comparison to the books. Signs in the books are heavily implied, rather than outright stated, and even then they're quite a rarity. With the aforementioned example of Geralt blocking Yennefer's lightning attack with Heliotrope, it's not even specifically stated that it was Heliotrope, it just matches the description perfectly, which is obvious, but it's not outright confirmed, which still leaves a little bit of nuance. The signs Geralt has access to, and a few recorded uses of them, are as follows. Somni is a sign that puts targets to sleep. This is used by a white-haired witcher who's heavily implied to be Geralt. I mean, who else is there that's white-haired in a witcher? Heliotrope is a magic deflecting sign that he uses in The Last Wish, as I mentioned earlier, against Yen's lightning. Igni in the books is not a burst of flames like a wave, it's actually a stream, much like the modification you can get for the sign, and he uses it famously against Ada in her Striga form in the Striga fight. This, however, doesn't really work on the Striga, and it's nowhere near as powerful as you think it would be. Ard is a kinetic blast, as shown in the games, although not quite as powerful. Use it on Renfri's gang to stun them momentarily while he gets closer to them. It does have applications in battle, although it's nowhere near as strong as shown in the games. Axii ability is a sign used to manipulate people and their minds. It's used on Thaned during the coup, and it can only really be used to make someone do something they would do appropriately, if that makes sense. Although this is later retconned in The Witcher 3 when Lambert apparently makes someone game end themselves with the sign. Well, he initially made someone shoot his friend with it, but I digress. Quen is a magical shield, and this is also heavily implied to be used on Thaned. Finally, we have Earden, which isn't ever outright stated to be used, much like the others sometimes. However, it is implied to be used against specters in the books. A few of these aren't explicitly stated, but heavily implied, as I mentioned before, and that's mainly due to Sapkowski's writing style. Remember that signs are barely used in the books, and they're also more of a struggle to use than they are in the games. That covers basically all of Geralt's abilities besides enhanced senses and all that witchery stuff. The final topic is combat and potions. Geralt is, by all means, a master of battle. Geralt approaches battle as a professional, a surgeon with a sword. He has immense training that he got from Kaer Morhen, obviously, and he's a witcher, which means all of his senses, speed and strength and everything is just naturally enhanced. Geralt is mainly efficient against monsters, especially monsters he's used to fighting. We actually saw that he fought a monster, which was the fish monster, in A Little Sacrifice. Not necessarily a monster, but the fish people. And he actually had a lot of trouble because he wasn't used to fighting them. But Geralt can most definitely fight humans, and he can fight some of the strongest of them too, and win with ease, in my humble opinion. Leo Frodhar. Geralt completely bullies knights in The Last Wish, as we see with Talez. Against Talez, Geralt was put in a position where if he harmed Talez, or if he let Talez win, he would have been killed either way. So Geralt, problem solving, just harms Talez by making Talez harm himself. I'm pretty sure, if I'm remembering correctly, he butts his own sword into his head and knocks him out or something of the sort, meaning he didn't technically harm him, Talez harmed himself, freeing him of the dilemma. Geralt wins by sheer skill and problem solving. All this to say that Geralt is an incredibly skilled combatant, if not the strongest swordsman in the entire universe. If you can think of anyone that can beat Geralt in a one-on-one sword to sword, leave it in the comments below and I'll be more than happy to go back and forth on the topic. Does Geralt have anything else going for him? Of course he does. He still has potions. Giving Geralt potions in a fight obviously assumes he has prep time and prior information on who he's fighting, so just keep that in mind. As it is with signs, potions are more implied than outright stated, and they're not really named. Potions greatly enhance Geralt's ability in a fight in very many different ways. Name a few canon potions and their effects. Let's go straight back to the white screen. Swallow is mentioned in Season of Storms and implied to be used in The Last Wish. It speeds healing and regeneration and is used when wounded. White Raffords is mentioned in Season of Storms and it causes intense healing. It's used after severe injuries or immense trauma. Thunderbolt is implied in both The Last Wish and Baptism of Fire. It's not named, but it has the exact same effects, increasing aggression, speed, strength, and reflexes. Cat is mentioned in Season of Storms and implied in The Last Wish. It's not named Cat, but it has the exact same effect. That seems to be a running theme here in the books. It allows Geralt to see clearly in the dark. Full Moon is implied to be used in Season of Storms, but also not mentioned directly. It's used preemptively before long hunts, and it increases your vitality and resistance. That just about covers all the potions, although there is one more that he drinks that's unnamed before he fights the Striga, but what I don't want to be is a snake oil merchant and tell you guys that I know what it is when I absolutely don't. So let me know if you know what it is in the comments below. Ladies and gentlemen, that will just about wrap us up for this video. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to check out other content on my channel. I find a lot of fun in covering book stuff and the lore, which I've been doing more recently, so I think I'll keep covering this for the foreseeable future. We have some big Witcher 4 reveals coming soon, and you know I'll be covering them, so be sure to subscribe to not miss any information. That'll be all from me today, guys. Take care, have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Love.